Hello everyone, this is Surya. So in this video we are going to see about the description of the all pressure measuring devices. So the pressure is day-to-day life pressure is very important. So there are many application in this. Every day we are using a knife. What happens is the area of the edge of the knife's blade is very small, and when we apply a pressure it is used for cut a material or cutting a vegetable, something like that. And syringes we are using for taking blood for blood test. So the pressure of the liquid, that is the blood, it forces the liquid to move in the syringe, as well as when the plunger is withdrawn. And we are using a drinking straw, there also a pressure is there. And apart from that, we are using vacuum cleaner. It has a fan inside and it creates a low pressure inside the device, and based upon that, air and dirt particles are sucked into that particular vacuum cleaner. So in day-to-day life we can see many applications of pressure. So how can we measure all those pressures? So it can be subdivided into two categories. One is our manometer and another one is pressure or vacuum gauges. And this manometer is again subdivided into simple manometers and differential manometer. So first we will see the simple manometer. So simple manometer is again subdivided into piezometer, U-tube manometer and single column manometer. First we will see piezometer. So what is this piezometer? So piezometer is a very simplest form of manometer, and it is mainly used for measuring the gauge pressures. I can say that one end of this manometer will be connected to a point where we have to measure the pressure, and the other end is left open to the atmosphere. So the rise in the liquid, it will give the pressure at that particular point. So this is how, that is something like that. If a taping is made in the boundary surface and you can see a long tube is connected over it, the liquid will rise in the tube until it is getting balanced by the atmospheric pressure. So the pressure in the main body of the liquid is mainly represented by the vertical height of the liquid column. So this is height. And if suppose if I want to take a pressure at a point A, okay, the height of the liquid is h, then pressure at A will be equal to rho GH, Newton per meter square. So where are these piezometers is used? So if you can study the effect of water in pores of soils or rock, and to determine the level and flow pattern in the groundwater, and to determine the flow pattern of water in all the dams and their foundations. So for all those things we have to measure the pressure. So for this purpose these piezometers can be used, and the main limitation is that it cannot be used to measure high pressures, because we have seen that the other end is open to the atmosphere. Suppose if you want to measure a high pressure, then we are in need of long length of the tube that should be kept open to the atmosphere, which is very highly uneconomical and inconvenient. So it cannot be used to measure high pressure, and also it cannot be used to measure pressure of the gas, because the type of this piezometer is open. And the next what we are going to see is about U-tube manometer. So what is this U-tube manometer? So it consists of a glass tube which is bent in U-tube. So you can see a U shape here. So one end of which is connected to a point where we have to measure the pressure. So here we have to measure the pressure at B point. So it is connected, and the other end will be remaining open to the atmosphere as shown in the figure. So what happens is that this tube generally contains mercury or any other liquid whose specific gravity is greater than the specific gravity of the liquid whose pressure is to be measured. So the liquid whose pressure is to be measured is known as metered fluid. So for which liquid we want to measure the pressure, that liquid is known as metered liquid, and the liquid will be used in the U-tube as indicator liquid is known as manometric liquid. So this liquid is metered liquid, and this liquid is going to be manometric liquid. Okay, so generally we will be using mercury because the specific weight of mercury will be high, so that the height of mercury column which is required to balance the pressure will be very less when compared to other liquids. So hence it will reduce the length of the tube required, and hence it will be very economical and inconvenient. And apart from that, this mercury is immiscible with most of the liquids, and it has got very low vapor pressure, and it will not get vaporized under normal pressure. So we'll be using mercury as a manometric liquid. So the main advantage is of U-tube manometer will be it is very simple in construction and low cost, and it is very easy to buy. It can be accurate and sensitive, and it can be used to measure other process variables. And the disadvantage is that it's very sensitive to temperature changes, and it is fragile in construction. And where do we apply this U-tube manometer? Mainly it is used to measure low range pressure measurement, and mainly it will be used in laboratories. And apart from that, it can be used in it is used in orifice meter and venturi meter for flow measurements. So we'll be seeing that later. And also it is used for calibration of gauges and any other instrument, and it is also used in measuring pressure drop in differential joints and valves. So these are some of the applications of a U-tube manometer. And how to construct this U-tube manometer? So it's very simple. Just draw a neat diagram of manometer. Draw a neat diagram of the manometer, and you have to consider a suitable datum line. That is, here my AA will be the datum line. So it should be in a such manner that our manometric liquid touching the datum line in the two limbs at the same level. You can see here manometric liquid is touching in the datum line. We have to see to it. Okay, and liquid is same in both the columns, that is left limb and as well as right limb. So we have to choose a datum line, and then we have to mark the distance of the center of the pipe. So here, from here, so this will be my H1. So mark the distance of the center of the pipe and the liquid level in the vertical column from the datum line. So everything should be measured in from the datum line. So here let H1, and this is measured in meters. It's H will be the pressure head in the center of the pipe, that is H1 is that. Then we have to write the equation. So supposing if B is the point which the pressure is to be measured, so I am taking this B point as pressure at B, I have to measure it that. So datum line will be AA. So H1 is the height of the light liquid above the datum line. So I have told already that mercury will have the specific gravity, that is, so hence the height H2 will be the manometric liquid. So the height of the manometric liquid will be the H2. And since because it's not necessary that we have to use water as metered liquid, we can use any liquid. So S1 will be the specific gravity of light liquid, and S2 will be the specific gravity of the heavy liquid, that is the manometric liquid. So if your specific gravity we are using, then we know the formula that specific gravity is equal to density of liquid by density of water. So we have to use this for specific gravity. And rho 1 will be the density of light liquid, and rho 2 will be the density of heavier liquid. So rho 2 will be equal to 1000 into S2. So these things we have seen already. And rho 1 heavy liquid, some other liquid, is 1000 into S1. So I am taking the specific gravity as S1, and specific gravity of higher liquid will be the S2. So pressure will be same for all the horizontal surfaces, and pressure above the horizontal datum line AA in the left limb and as well as in the right limb of the manometer should be same. So pressure should be same. So pressure above AA in left limb. How we are going to take is, we will be using our hydrostatic law. So we have to measure the pressure at B. So P plus, so we have taken that pressure as P, and this we have to take into account, that is rho 1, G1, H1. So I am using the hydrostatic formula. And the same way, pressure above AA in right limb is equal to, here I am having only one manometric liquid. I don't have any pressure, only atmospheric pressure is there. I don't want to take that into account. So rho 2 G2 H2. So specific acceleration due to gravity will be same. So I can simply write as rho 2 G into H. So even this is not necessary. And I have told that pressure will be same for all the horizontal surfaces. So which means that pressure above AA in the left limb will be equal to pressure above AA in the right limb. So pressure in the left limb will be equal to pressure in the right limb. So I can write as P plus rho 1 GH will be equal to rho 2 GH. So my pressure, what I want to find, will be equal to rho 2 GH minus rho 1 GH. So pressure will be equal to, I can take GH as H1 H2. Sorry. So which is, I can take only G as common, rho 2 H2 minus rho 1 H1. Supposing if you have to measure for the vacuum pressure, so it will be the, you can see the diagram that in the datum line you can see that liquids are meeting, manometric liquid will be meeting, and it will be like this. So how we are going to take is that in the left hand side itself, all the left limb itself, all the other things comes. So which is, I have to measure the pressure at B. So I am taking P plus rho 1 G1 H1 plus rho 2 G H2. So I can take like this. Similarly, pressure above AA in right limb will be equal to 0 because there is no manometric liquid in the right hand side. So it is going to be 0. And as per the rule, pressure will be same for the horizontal surface, and pressure in the left limb will be equal to pressure in the right limb. So we have to keep that point in mind. So P plus rho 1 G H1 plus rho 2 G H2 is equal to 0. So this is how we have to find the pressure of the liquid. The next one what we are going to see is about single column manometer. So it is a modified form of a YouTube manometer. That is, it consists of a reservoir which is having a large cross-sectional area, and as compared to the area of the tube which is connected to one of the limb, say left limb of the manometer. So due to this large cross-sectional area of the reservoir, for any variation in the pressure, the level in the change in the liquid level in the reservoir will be very small, which can be neglected. So hence, in the pressure is given by the height of the liquid in the other limb. So you can see the pressure difference. Del H will be the change in the level of the reservoir, you can notice here. And initially the datum line can be XX, and due to the change in pressure it can be shifted to YY. There are two types of single column manometer. One will be the vertical column manometer, and another will be the inclined single column manometer. You can see the next picture, B picture. So initially both the limbs, they are exposed to the atmospheric pressure. So what are the manometers? We have seen that it is exposed to atmospheric pressure. Then our left limb will be connected to the container, and the liquid pressure will push the datum line from XX to YY. So this is the one we are seeing, and the main advantage of these kind of manometers will be it is very easy to fabricate, and it is inexpensive. You will be having very good accuracy, and very less maintenance is required, and it is not affected by vibration, and it is especially it can be suitable for low pressure and low differential pressure. And the limitations is that something like that it is bulky, and it is large in size, and it's being fragile, it can be broken easily. And another important limitation is that it is affected by the changes in the temperature, altitude, and gravity. And for better accuracy, meniscus has to be maintained by accurate means. You know what is meniscus, so it has to be maintained. So the applications will be, main applications will be, it can be used in the visual monitoring of air and gas pressure for compressors and vacuum equipment and specialty tank applications such as medical gas cylinders and fire extinguishers. It can be used, and in power plants it can be used, and can be used for the research of atmosphere. In even for other planets we can be used. Then many more applications in weather studies, research lab, gas analysis, and medical equipments. In many medical equipments it can be used. And another thing is that some type of liquids can be toxic and it can be damage to the environment. So when using the manometer to measure or indicate the pressure, we have to we should not connect any manometer to a pressure that has the potential to exceed the range of manometer. It should be maintained, so that has to be taken care. And it should be free from any breaking and blockage. So it is the thing we have to take into account. And differential manometers are the one, they are used to measure the difference of pressures between 2 points in a pipe or in two different pipes. So the first classification in differential manometer is two piezometer manometer. So it consists of two separate piezometers. You can see two separate piezometers are there. Inserted at two gauge points as shown in figure. That is, one gauge point is at A and another gauge point is at B. The pressures are separately found out, and we can find the difference in between the pressure. And generally these two piezometer manometer will be used to measure very small pressure differences. And next one is micromanometer, and these type of manometers are used to measure very small pressure difference in a very accurate manner. So if you want to measure in a very accurately for a small pressure difference, we can use a micromanometer. You can see that it consists of two reservoirs. Two reservoir points can be seen, and on each of the limb of the manometer. And this micromanometer will consist of two immiscible manometric liquids whose specific gravity will be more or less, it will be nearly equal. So hence a measurable reading is obtained even for a small pressure difference between the 2 points. Next we are going to see about U-tube differential manometer. What is the difference between U-tube manometer and U-tube differential manometer? In U-tube manometer, that is in water-filled U-tube manometer, mainly it is used to measure the pressure difference in pitot at orifices which is located in the ventilation system or something like that. But in a differential manometer is a device we can measure the difference in pressure between two different places or two different pipes or something like that. So here we are seeing a U-tube manometer. So at different level, you can see that in the figure A, this is a U-tube manometer which is at different levels. That is, 2 points A and B are at different level, and also they also contain the liquids of different specific gravity. And these points, these two different points can be connected by means of a U-tube differential manometer. So I am assuming that pressure at A will be PA and pressure at B will be PB, and H will be the difference in mercury level. So we can see H here, difference in mercury level. And Y is the distance of center of B. So this should be the center of B. This should be the center of B from the mercury level in the right limb, and X will be the distance of center of A from the mercury level in the left limb. And let ρ1 be the density of liquid at A. So here it is ρ1, and ρ2 will be the density of liquid at B, and this ρg will be the density of heavy liquid or manometric liquid. So here we are using three different liquids. So one is at A point, and another different liquid is B point, and our manometric liquid will be the mercury, and that is ρg. and again the datum line will be x's, and as such we have told that pressure in the left limb will be equal to the pressure in the right limb. So I am writing that pressure in left limb. So if you take in the left limb, I can see that pressure at A will be there plus rho 1g into, so this difference is going to be h, so h plus x. And similarly pressure in right limb will be equal to, so I have to take this for mercury liquid, so which is rho g, that is rho g is density, so rho g into g into h plus rho 2 g into y, that is for this another liquid, plus Pb. So this will be the pressure in the right limb. So again I am repeating, in the left limb we can see that we are having three different liquids here. So since because three different liquids are there, we will be having three different density of liquid will be there. So pressure at A plus for the first liquid I am taking that rho 1 g into x plus this height difference I have to denote because it is completely full, so it is h plus x, the height will be h plus x, so rho 1 g into h plus x. But when you take in the pressure in the right limb, so you can see that density of mercury will be different, so rho g into the height is h, and the next thing will be rho 2 into g into y plus Pb. Now we are going to equate the two pressures, so which is Pa plus rho 1 g into h plus x is equal to rho g gh plus rho 2 gy plus Pb. Okay, so I am in need of Pa minus Pb because I am interested in getting the difference in pressure. So I am bringing all the other terms to the right hand side. So rho g gh plus rho 2 gy minus of rho 1 g into h. In this YouTube differential manometer, you can see that both the limbs are at the same level, A and B are at same level. So as usual, Pa, Pb, pressure at A, pressure at B we can take, and h is the difference in the mercury level. Here also we are going to find the same thing, that is pressure above xx in the left limb. So this is xx is the datum line, so above which we can see that only one single liquid is there. So I can take this as rho 1 g. So you can see the distance as this distance is x and this distance is h, so which is h plus x plus pressure at A, which is Pa. Next is pressure above xx in the right limb, which is equal to, as usual you can see here that there is a difference in up to this here it is a mercury liquid, so which is rho g into mercury liquid is there, so which is height is going to be h plus rho 1 g into, you can see up to x the distance is there, x plus Pb. So as you have mentioned earlier, we can equate both the equation, that is pressure in the above xx in the left limb and the right limb is going to be equal. So rho 1 gh plus rho 1 gx, I am just splitting the equation and I am writing Pa is equal to rho g gh plus rho 1 gx plus Pb. So you can cancel these two things. So I will be getting Pa minus Pb is equal to, I am bringing the Pb here, so which is equal to rho g gh minus rho 1 gh. So here the common terms I can take it out. Pb is equal to GH into rho G minus rho 1. So this is how I can find the difference in the pressure between various different places. Next we are going to see is about inverted U-tube manometer. So you can see U-tube is inverted. It consists of an inverted U-tube which contains a light liquid. So here we can use oil as a light liquid or as a manometric liquid, we can use that it all. So the two ends of the tube will be connected to the point whose difference in pressure is to be measured. Say this A and B, we have to measure the pressure. So the two ends of the tube will be connected to the point whose difference in pressure has to be measured. And this inverted U-tube manometer is used mainly for measuring difference in low pressure. Very accurately you can measure it off. So very small pressure differences in liquids, we can use this inverted U-tube manometer. Okay, here the same way, H1 will be the height of liquid in left limb below the datum line, and H2 is the height of liquid in right limb, and H will be the difference of light liquid. And similarly, rho 1 is density of liquid at A and rho 2 is density of liquid at B, and PA will be pressure at A and PB will be pressure at B. So the same things we are going to follow, and XX will be our datum line. So here also the same thing, that is the pressure will be, we are going to equate the pressure in the left limb will be equal to pressure in the right limb. So I am writing here pressure at left limb below XX, which is equal to PA minus rho 1 GH1. If you take in the normal differential manometer, we will be using plus sign for normal U-tube manometer. The difference between inverted and normal manometer is, here we will be using the minus sign to calculate the pressure, and because it is inverted. Similarly, pressure at right limb below XX will be equal to pressure at B minus rho 2 GH2 minus rho G GH. Now I can equate both the pressures. So PA minus rho 1 GH1 is equal to PB minus rho 2 GH2 minus rho G GH. PA minus PB is equal to rho 1 GH1 minus rho 2 GH2 minus rho G GH. So this is the concept of inverted U-tube manometer. You are also having the other things, the similar things, like you can see that at the same level, if the inverted U-tube manometer is there, I am leaving it up to you. You can do the similar type of calculations and similar type of derivations to calculate the pressure difference between the two places which are at same levels. That can be also. The next we are going to see is about pressure or vacuum gauges. In that, the first type will be Bourdon type pressure gauge. You can see the diagram here. So the cross section of the Bourdon tube will be elliptical, and this Bourdon tube will be in a bend form to look like a circular arc. The main application of this is many of the industrial applications, depending upon the specific build, they are using this Bourdon gauge. Say in gas distribution, in aerospace or chemical industries, marine industries, medical industries, machine and plant engineering, and in many places they are using this Bourdon rain gauges. And this pressure to be measured will be connected, or it will be entered to the open end of the tube. So this applied pressure will be acting on the inner walls of the Bourdon tube, and due to the applied internal pressure, this Bourdon tube will tend to change its cross section from elliptical to circular. So it can be of elliptical type or it can be of a circular one, and this will straighten the tube, and this movement of the tube is transmitted through a mechanical link to a pointer which moves on a graduated circular dial. You can see here. So this is a circular dial, and you can see that this will be moving it. That will indicate the pressure intensity of the fluid. So this graduation will be done in such a way that the zero of the gauge is corresponding to the atmospheric pressure. So whenever it denotes 0 in gauges, if the value is 0, then it will be corresponds to the atmospheric pressure. So by suitably adjusting the graduations, negative and positive pressure can be maintained within the gauge itself. When the gauge is connected to the negative pressure or vacuum pressure, the link will tends to close, and the pointer will be moving in the anti-clockwise direction. So the pointer can move both in clockwise as well as in anti-clockwise direction, and generally this Bourdon type gauges will be used to measure to medium to very high pressure. So if you order to measure very high pressure, we can use this Bourdon gauges, and the main benefit is that it can give very accurate result, and it is very simple to construct, and it's economical, and also even it is safe for high pressure measurement. You can use for a very high pressure, you can use it off. And some of the disadvantages that it is very sensitive to shocks and vibrations, and if there is any change in pressure, it will respond little bit slow. Next one we are going to see is about diaphragm pressure gauge. So this diaphragm pressure gauges is suitable for very sensitive media in the food and pharmaceutical industry. Apart from that, it is also used to measure pressure in viscous and crystallization and contaminated media, so it can be used there. And you can see that diaphragm means it's a mechanical device. So here this is known as our diaphragm. So which is nothing but a sheet of a semi-flexible material which is anchored at its periphery is called as diaphragm. So the elastic deformation of this diaphragm, which is under pressure, is transmitted to a pointer by means of a mechanical link, as you are seeing here. So this gauge is also used to measure relatively a very small pressure. The main advantage of diaphragm pressure gauge is that it has much faster frequency response than U-tube, and it is as mentioned earlier, it is good for low pressure, and there is a high overpressure safety can be maintained, and it can be used to measure in gauge atmospheric as well as a differential pressure. And the main disadvantage is that it is more expensive than other pressure. The next one we are going to see is about bellow pressure gauge. It is working on the principle of elasticity. So what are these bellows? Okay, this is called as my bellow. You can see this. So this is my bellow. So these bellows are used to deliver additional air to the fuel so that it will raise the rate of combustion, and hence the heat input can be raised. So this is the main thing, that is you have to deliver a additional amount of air to the fluid. So for that purpose they are providing a bellows here. And it mainly works on the principle of elasticity. It consists of metal bellows which expand or contract when pressure is applied. So when there is any pressure is going to be applied, it will either it can expand or it can contract. So for this purpose only you are having a spring here. So because of the spring, either when the pressure is applied, it can expand or it can go for contraction. And this is the pointer, and this is my zero adjuster. So mainly it is used to measure absolute and differential pressure, and it can be used for the pressure ranges between low to medium gauges. The last type of pressure gauge what we are going to see is dead weight pressure gauge. So this dead weight pressure gauge will be working on the principle of Pascal's law. and it is used in calibration laboratories to calibrate pressure transfer standards like electronic pressure measuring devices. So generally the system will be full with the air free oil. So this is going to my oil reservoir. So you can see a valve here. So this is my valve. So completely the system will be full with air free oil. Pressure will be gradually increased from the pressurization chamber. So you can see this is my pressure gauge, or I can say that this is gauge under test. And I will be having one primary piston here, and this is going to be my adjusting piston. So I can even adjust the piston to develop a pressure, and this will be my weight. Okay, so the oil pressure will be starting increasing in all the areas, including the piston cylinder arrangement, above which you are mounting your dead weight. So what happens when the force is increasing gradually and it is getting equal to the amount of downward force that is being exerted by the downward weight, the total system will be gaining a state of equilibrium, and just at that moment the dead weight will start lifting up. So slowly the weight will get lifted up. So the sum of pressure values stamped on weights lifted is operated on the pressure gauge element also. So this is also under the test. So mainly this is used for measurement of higher steady pressure. You can use it for higher steady pressure. So the main thing is that it is working on the principles of Pascal's law, and usually the weight can be lifted up based upon this setup. And why it is called as dead weight means we can apply pressure by moving piston when we will be taking the reference pressure will be equal to 0. That is 0 means dead. That's why it's called dead weight pressure gauges. That is, the reference weight will be 0. Whatever that we are taking, the reference weight is equal to 0. That's why it is called as dead weight pressure gauges. Okay, so we can apply either pressure by moving piston or adjusting piston, and we can do it off, and we can lift out the weight. So these are the things about we have learnt the different types of pressure gauges along with the real life example. Thank you. Happy learning.